Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to Source ATV today. We're going to talk about how easy it is to put an IMS 4.25 gallon tank on your KTM 500 EXC-F, or how not easy it is actually. You'll see that the tank's actually already on the bike. I'm starting off the video this way because I wanted to note that you have to make sure that you have the right fuel pump hardware and petcock. RockyMountain ATV MC and the instructions actually don't tell you that not all factory petcocks from this 2017 500 EXC actually work with the IMS tank, but if you go on the website for IMS, they tell you might need to order some different hardware. So you can see here that the problem is that there's a lot of space. This one's actually loosened. There's a lot of space between the petcock and the fuel pump bolt or nut than there should be, and that means there's no sealing of the fuel. So I just want to give everybody a heads up here and say make sure you go order those parts beforehand and have them on hand when you're going to do this install when you buy the tank. You can use the factory right angle kit from the older bikes, and then a shallower nut here that doesn't bottom out like this one. So, you know, worst case, you've got to return the parts, but you might as well have them on hand so you don't have to wait 2 weeks to finish the project. But yeah, so let's get into it and do some disassembly, and then I'll show you how easy it is to put it on, and then we can talk about putting these new parts on. Stock tank right there, go to this beastly 4.5 gallon tank right here. Should give us a lot more range, somewhere around 200 miles ish. You know, easy riding, somewhere in the high 100s with some harder riding. So it's pretty straightforward. The only thing I'm going to change from a lot of other installs that you may or may not have seen is going to be putting some of this reflective gold insulation on the inside of the tank and show you how to do that. Super straightforward. You can get it on Amazon. There's a link in the bio below. So yeah, let's get to it. First things first, got to get that fuel out of the old tank. All right, so I'm gonna use some of this heat reflective gold insulation. It's just a stick-on vinyl type stuff. Apparently it's made for space or something like that. I'm only gonna worry about the spots that are, you know, in really close contact with something that's very, very warm. So right here, you can see that that's where the back side of the cylinder is. Or the left side of the cylinder is in the head. So this, I'm going to try to get everything in here. You know, probably a little bit on the inside of this, some of the inside of this area here where the radiators are, and the same goes for the inside here, and maybe some of it, just a little bit up into the inside of this channel here. But you know, I'm not going to get here because that's where the frame rail is. And then once we get back to here, if I have some left over, I'll put some on there. But yeah, I'm really concerned about this giant area right here and this area on the side and anywhere by the radiators. I don't know if you guys have ever pulled your gas cap off and seen your gas boiling, but it is not cool. It happens when you're doing really slow speed stuff in very hot temperatures. So I'd like to avoid that as much as possible. So let's see what happens. Alright, so the IMS tank, it's all heat shielded up as best I could, and the stock tank, I pulled the bottom off here, and I'm just about to pull the rest of the fuel pump assembly. I'm going to try to get it into that IMS tank without having to put a any type of, not even to put a string up to the tank or anything like that. So we'll see what happens. Jeez, that's not what you want to do. All right, there we go. Fuel pump assembly off, looking pretty good. Let's see if I can get this guy in the tank without without putting some kind of string or something like that up the bottom channel here. Luckily, there's a lot more room in the bottom of this one than there is in the bottom of the stock tank, so hopefully it'll kind of just slide in. Go ahead and put it in at an angle. And cross my fingers. Remember not to look directly into that hole because there's gas coming out of your fuel pump. That could be bad. All right, I think I got it. Pulling that back out in the back allowed me to start the threads on this guy. Let's get that started. All right. Now we'll go back upside down like this. There we go. Okay, so this isn't fun. The factory 500 EXC tank, the plastic right there is a lot thicker than in the IMS tank. So when these nuts and this little fuel fitting, they bottom out and it leaves some space. Basically, you can see right there, right? That's a no-go because fuel will come out. So the funny thing is, if you go to the IMS website, it doesn't mention anything in this particular, in the instructions they gave about that. But the funny thing is, if you go to the IMS website, they do actually say you might need to order some parts. There's really no way to figure that out unless you pull it beforehand and see that you have a thick tank. So I ordered the parts. They should be here in a few days. It was about $60, so it was not a cheap alternative. AOMC.MX was the only place that had both of them available and ready to ship. But I wanted to keep the right angle style fuel line drop like that versus having it come straight out and then the fuel line go like that, because it's way more vulnerable to getting snagged and that sort of thing. But anyways, I'll get the rest of the bike put back together here. All right, so although the install of the tank was not a huge success right away because of those bolts, and you can see it pretty clearly right there, that space should not be there. So those parts are in order. I'm leaving the fuel line disconnected and the battery's connected, but the fuel pump is disconnected. But overall, this thing is looking really, really cool. The shrouds fit right in there. You can't even see any of you can see a little bit of the heat shielding that I put on the tank right there, but it's pretty well hidden, so it's not like it's giant shiny gold. Horn fits right back on. I just put it right to that spot. It's in the pictures that show up top, but it'll hit the triple clamp. But yeah, overall the bike is looking really cool. And it's cool to know that I got 4.25 gallons there. Yeah, and you can barely see a little bit of the gold right in here, and that's probably a little dark. But yeah, other than that one hardware issue, it's looking really, really good. You can see that it's definitely wider, obviously right here, by about ½ an inch, but this space looks about the same, which is pretty good. So yeah, we'll just wait for those parts, try again. So one of the things I wanted to note as you're swapping out the petcock here is that the Best Dual Sports KTM Husky guy sells a high flow version of this petcock thing, right angle fuel pump adapter, whatever you want to call it. You can see that the factory one here that comes on the 2017 just has a groove on the bolt mounting into the fuel pump, and then the inside it's just totally smooth. So you're really looking at only that space right there to get all your fuel flowing into that outlet. Whereas the new KTM factory right angle mount has a groove on the inside going into the outlet, and then a groove also on the mount. So it looks like you could probably choose either the factory KTM right angle mount that they list, and I'll put the part number in the description. Factory fuel pump connection, there it is, part number, that long number, I'll put it in the description. But you can use that or the Best Dual Sport Bikes high flow one, whichever one you want to use. So yeah, let's get to it. Let's keep, basically you got to swap the O-ring from the top to the O-ring at the top here, and then you have to put these O-rings on the right angle connection to make sure they're nice and clean. And there's another little O-ring that goes right there on the top, and then all we got to do is pull that hose clamp and then use a standard hose clamp to reattach to this guy. So let's do it. All right, let's kick her on and see what she does under pressure, and then I'll try to fire it up. I'm gonna leave the seat off because I'm also gonna put enough fuel into it to make sure that this guy's sealing here too. But fire extinguisher for safety. All right, let's do it. Looks pretty good. Let's see what happens if we try to turn her on. Let that battery warm up. Looks like she's doing just fine under pressure. There's also a new JD tuner installed on this thing right now too, so that could be coming into play as far as starting. Sounds like it might be too cold here. Turn it on. At least there's no fuel coming out of anywhere here. So that's a step in the right direction. But might have to jump this thing. All right, it's 14 degrees here in Colorado right now. So the lithium ion battery on the 500 EXC was too weak to start the bike, so I had to jump it with the 690. But now that she's running, let's see. Everything's looking good. I got no leaks here. So it's running, it sounds like it's running good, so that's it. Last thing to do is just to check. I'm gonna fill the tank up all the way and make sure there's no leaks here at the back side of the fuel pump. But overall, really happy with it. It's just a pain in the ass to install. All right, that's it for the IMS tank install. I'm gonna go ahead and give that one a 3 out of 5 on the F-bomb scale of difficulty. I definitely found it pretty difficult with the hardware issue. It's not a super technical install, but just a pain in the A with the hardware issue and then getting this routing just right. But I'm actually really happy with how this came out. But yeah, it not being explicit that you need new hardware when I bought it from RockyMountain ATV is not great. So yeah, just make sure you do that. And then I'll do a review on the range increase at some point once it gets not 10 degrees out here in Colorado. You can still see my breath right now. So anyways, keep the rubber side down and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in to Source ATV.